Hi everyone, I'm back with another video from the Season 4 PTR, and this time about the Twisting Blades Rogue. So I've been experimenting more on this class after trying the grenade stuff. I've already made a video, but this is, I guess, a fan favorite that a lot of people that have played Rogue in the past really have enjoyed, and it's coming back. In Season 3 we have mostly played ranged builds, and they are also still really strong. In particular, Rapid Fire is looking pretty strong, probably even better than this. But, well, Poison Twisting Blades is still quite up there. There is a few new tricks that this build is getting that makes it much more comfy to play. And it can push all the way to a pit tier 200, which is the cap currently on the PTR. So what you see here right now is like not really optimized at all. I've just been like putting it together and not very min-maxed. So this is already doing like 130s relatively comfortably. Even defensively, it feels okay. It's not like a tank, as is a rogue still, but it feels okay because there's a lot of crowd control in this build. You can now stack like stun, freeze, daze, slow procs. You can get everything you want all together. You can proc the damage reduction effects from the poison. You can proc the damage reduction effects from the paragons. And well, in general, it just kind of like still melts everything once you do like the full combo. And one really cool part that you can see here in action is that I also freeze a lot of stuff all the time. So it's kind of hard to see behind all of the numbers, but you see basically everything around me is frozen, which is also coming from those new procs that you can now temper on your gear. So I'm going to show this in game. So it looks like this. There are new affixes that I can put on your gear. And some of those have these slow effects here, for example, 40% chance to slow. We have the same here with the daze, for example. Here's one with the freeze. Here's one with the daze. And well, I've respected this character a little bit, so I don't wear exactly the gear from this clip. But this is kind of what makes this feel much better than in the past, because it's suddenly very easy to get all of your different like effects online. For example, this Wiles node, I really like taking this usually, and it's kind of hard to proc it, but not anymore really. And then you can throw in like a shared misery aspect that spreads it between the enemies. So there's this one here, and instantly it can freeze the entire pool, it can slow the entire pool, and it makes it much safer. Now, of course, monsters also become unstoppable after some time, so especially on the very high pit tiers, if your damage is not great, then you gotta be aware of that, especially in elite fights. They might start doing stuff at some point, but for the most part, you are fairly safe. And on top of this, I also had, for example, an Umbrous aspect here for the Dark Shrouds. So there's this one here, we still play the typical puncture, for example. And like this, you can get the extra damage reduction. This really helps out on the boss, because the boss fights are actually kind of like the main problem in the pit. And you first of all need to bring quite a lot of single target damage, but also those boss fights are just no joke. There's a lot of like kind of one-shot mechanics going on, or really hard-hitting abilities you have to dodge. And Dark Shroud helps a lot with that. So I can show that here later in the run. So this was actually like a 5-minute run or so. I died once somewhere. And as I mentioned, this can be way faster, way better, but the bosses are also kind of melting, especially once you start staggering them. And then you get like the typical poison combo, bursting venom procs, and you stand in the poison pools, and you just kind of keep going. Now, on top of this, there is another cool tool that the poison builds, or just all imbuement builds for rogues, are getting, which is extra imbuement charges. And you can see this here in action. Actually, when I press it, I have 4 charges on my poison imbuement. This could actually be way more, but it's currently a bit bugged. But there is a new stat similar to these armor stats here, where you can temper new stats. You can now get these imbuements last for +1 or even +2 cast rolls. And this can actually be increased as well with extra master working. So you can even get 3 or I think even 4 per imbuement cast. So you can actually get to the point where you can have something like 10 imbuement charges, and it's extremely easy to kind of like just perpetually poison imbue the target, even when Bursting Venoms is not proccing. And of course, it also makes it easier to proc Bursting Venoms when you have so many hits. So that's kind of cool and makes the whole setup just way smoother to play, and doesn't feel like it's relying so much on getting that proc all the time. Outside of that, most of the setup is actually pretty much standard, traditional poison Twisting Blades build. So we have that here. Actually, I took pretty much the planner from my Maxroll guide here. So if you go down to the variants, this T100 9-dimensional variant is like the poison variant. where we have most of that stuff. So I did some tweaks here. I didn't have a smoke grenade, for example. I went with a death trap instead, and some small little adjustments I did here and there. But in the grand scheme of things, it was pretty much this setup here that I played, and that still seems to kind of hold up pretty well. So there's like a few tweaks. For example, I would probably not run a Shira's Kanjar anymore. In general, unique weapons have kind of lost some value in this patch, but outside of that, yeah, there is you know, not really all too much different here. So if you want to try something like this on the PTR right now yourself, then I recommend you go check it out if you are hyped for some melee rogue action. But other than that, I just wanted to kind of like showcase this a little bit to see what's coming for the rogues. Seems like melee rogues are coming back. In particular, Poison Twisting Blades is making a return, and we'll see what else we can do. Potentially Flurry RF. It's a bit difficult now to do these kind of like combo builds, for example, with different core skills, but maybe we can figure something out. I have also done some additional testing. For example, I tried some stuff around Inner Sight and Preparation, which also got buffed in this patch. And it seems like combo points is probably still kind of like the top choice for like the high-end content. So when it comes to like pushing really far in the pit, but for any kind of like farming, even Nightmare Dungeons all the way to T100, which is kind of like speed farming territory now for many builds, even like down to like B tier builds or something. T100s are gonna be quite easy. So at that point, you can actually still run something like Inner Sight. You can run with Preparation. So here you can see the new effects. And there are more synergies for this. For example, you can extend the duration of Inner Sight. And I made it like last 14 seconds or something in one of my tests. That actually felt kind of funny. But unfortunately, it doesn't really work well with Poison. So you have to play like some other combo, like a Shadow or a physical variant or even a cold variant. So there's definitely a lot of stuff now. As I mentioned, with these extra imbuement charges, you can make a lot of really cool things work on the Rogue outside of this Twisting Blades build as well. But if you have played this Poison Twisting Blades build in the past, then it will feel kind of similar to what it was, but way more comfy because of all these crowd control effects and the Dark Shrouds and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, just wanted to show this up really quick. So I'm gonna have more stuff to share from the PTR. Actually, the PTR is ending in a few days, but there's still a lot of videos, a lot of stuff that I tested that I want to get out there. So I have done much more than that, even on the Rogue, and stay tuned for more. So hope you enjoyed this little showcase here. Wish you good luck, and see you guys next time.